of rising potential, and it gives them a chance to prove themselves. So I'm excited to see what Saucia can bring, but it's going to be tough in that first matchup going against Impunity, the current second standing team for points with 19 there. But, you know, you've always got to have hope in the new teams because they can bring, I'd say they bring new tactics to the table, as well as just it's different for those teams that have been in the VG8 and playing off against each other that get to know each other. It's certainly a new face and sometimes, you know, new tactics to adapt to there.
Definitely. And of course, for the final match of today, we have Silver Boom going up against Brand Chong. Brand Chong, again, another team from previous splits, Challenger series as well. So, you know, two teams coming out from the Challenger series from the previous split. So I'm quite interested. And in fact, you know, I'm excited going into all of these games for today. Just a quick run through of our first matchup between Elite 8 and ASN Esports. For the side of Elite 8, we have the usual official Hein, iLock, Han Diego, and Anime Save Me. And on the side of ASN Esports, used to be known as Team Popeyes, we have Aeon 222, Tazaboy 98, Chingy, Azure, and Zarano. And of course, I believe draft is ready. So without further ado, let's go into draft. So coming into this draft, I request a duo. What do you think would happen? I mean, we do see a Castro being banned out first. But then a lot of priorities has been given over, like, been put on banning out the Baron, if not them picking it up. If not, then in the previous week itself, we do see a lot of Grays being picked up. And the win percentage of Grays in the current VG8 across regions are pretty high up there. So do you think a Grays will be prioritized between Elite 8 and ASN Esports?
Oh, you know, we might see it as that first pickup coming in, but I still think there are a lot of carries on the table, such as Vox. They're strong pickups, and here we're not seeing Baron being banned out yet, and I think he's still viable in the current meta, so I won't be surprised if we see him be picked up here. Otherwise, you know, it will be towards that Roam pick, and also just not giving away too much of their general team comp in this first draft pick, and then they do have their bonus time here that they're going into, so they're really giving this one a think.
Well, yeah, definitely, I must agree with you. There is one thing that I'm quite surprised coming up from Elite 8 is the Fox being picked out first item, first pickup. Only reason because Idris is a so much stronger pick, and especially when picking up Fox, you are exposing yourself to that of a Baron picked up, which was picked up by ASN Esports at the end of the day. And Idris is one of those counters and reliable counters going into Baron as well. We seeing ASN picking up that Baron. I'm sure CP Blackfeather or even Samuel may be banned out. They are pretty quick on their bans, but then for their picks, they are kind of considering their options as well. For the side of Elite 8, they do ban out Alara, so they might want to go for that Grace just for the other sustain hero, but Grace is actually being picked up by ASN Esports, just taking that Grace away from the side of Elite 8, which I think is a rather intelligent choice.
It's really nice to see Grace being picked up into these pro matches, especially, you know, Grace, just as soon as she came out into the fold, you knew that this is the roamer that they put out and is strong. Some people complain that they're like, you know, she's too strong, but it's like, no, it's just a good roamer. Her kit works so well. If you can get on top of those enemies, there are a lot, such as Sky, I know when playing against Grace personally, you know, that you're able to jump around her and kind of escape. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see something like that, a more mobile team comp come out of the side of my bad. Yes, Elite 8. Yeah. But they go for the Lance just for the general roam pick there. And I think that's also good. But in terms of that jungle, I would like to see a more mobile jungler, someone that doesn't have to dive right onto Grace, so they're not going to get caught up in that. Like Sky, beautiful pick up there.
Yeah, but
you can already tell which team I'm going to cheer on.
you are definitely going to go for that Elite 8 because of that Sky pickup. There is one thing about Lance that I do not quite like being picked up in the current meta, is that you have a Catherine still open. And Catherine counters Grace. I mean, of course, with Blast Tremor, it's a really easy skill to kind of crucible and block out in the late part of the game. But Catherine, her kit itself is really reliable. It's really a strong kit. So although Catherine is not being picked up, I don't think it's highly unlikely the side of ASN will be picking up the Catherine. So in order to counter the Sky, I'm sure they might lean towards Taka. That is the better pick going into Sky. I mean, at the end of the day, both of the comps coming out from the teams look rather balanced out. I mean, the side of ASN, they've got their Engage, and of course, the side of Elite 8 as well. They've got equal Engage, but one thing that's going for the side of Elite 8 is just the amount of CCs that Vox and Lance can bring to the table. And of course, not forgetting Sky when Sky has got Death from Above. That's slow and stun. And Sky in Southeast Asia have been played to a rather good extent with really high win rates as well. So I'm looking to see how this Sky can actually perform going up against this Taka, because recently I've been in this ranked match. So every single time we see a Sky being picked up, I force my jungler to pick up the Taka, although he doesn't like to play Taka. But anyways, we do see the team comms coming out from both teams. What do you think? I mean, you are going to support, you are going to root for the team that has got Sky, but then objectively wise, what do you think overall as the team comp? Which team do you think has got the upper hand in draft?
Oh, well, I'm looking at two really strong team comps here. I mean, it's going to be tough going up against that Baron, especially when it's hard to dive him with Grace there to spawn, as well as with the immense heal you're going to get on the ultimate of Grace. And then Taka's just going to be that kind of nuisance trying to dive onto either Sky or more so Vox as well. And I think that could work out pretty well. They're quite similar in the team comps that they've got built up for themselves. I think where it just comes through, especially for ASN Esports, is that they have that Baron who doesn't necessarily need to, I wouldn't say go in as much, but I think he seems like it's a bit of a stronger pick than the Vox at the moment, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, definitely. I mean, Vox has got to sustain with the standard meta build with that Poison Shift going into Tension Bow, then afterwards finishing it up with a breaking point, and then building double defense, and then of course the boots. Problem with that is that Baron don't usually would build defense, so if you're going to match him stat for stat, you would risk yourself just dying and just be eliminated before the fight even happens, because I granted you're building double defense and then Baron do not have. So if you can out-sustain the Baron, then I guess you do fine. But then the amount of burst coming out from Baron after one jump jet, and it not even jump jets, don't even have to overdrive the jump jets. When Baron gets his hands on Sorrow Blade and Tension Bow, that is when he's got his biggest power spike. And on top of that, when he reaches level 12, when he has got extended range on his basic attack, it is so difficult for a Vox to actually dive in as well, let alone a Sky. So honestly, coming into this game, I do agree with you. Both teams have got their pros and cons. We have a very, very mobile Sky there who can Suri strike to the back lines, try to avoid that Grace, try to take that Baron down. But whether or not you can stand your ground, and then just tank up the damage, soak up the damage from Baron without Vox actually going down first. If Vox is the target for either carries, then of course you might actually win. Problem with that Grace being banned out, I'm just going back to draft. I'm just looking back at draft. Problem with the Grace, the Lyra being banned out is that you lack the sustain coming into this game. And in fact, Lyra is not actually that strong. I mean, Lyra is really strong. Her high sustain in the early game, but I personally think that Grace's kit is just so much stronger, and you could have used Grace's kit to a greater extent, especially after your second ban, coming into and giving away the Grace immediately when the enemy has the pick as well. And of course, the Sky pickup into Baron. I understand the thought process, but Baron, after all, he is a hero that relies a lot on his basic attack, not a lot of skill shots, so there is really nothing much for you to dodge. And then, of course, to finish up the team comp coming up from ASN is that Taka. I personally think that ASN's team comp is just so much stronger as compared to the side of Elite 8. But honestly, when it comes down to it, it is just down to execution. And both of us know that Elite 8 is the crown champion in Southeast Asia. But this is also a grudge match between Popeyes and, of course, Elite 8. There's one thing, if you actually have followed the championship series, Elite 8 actually went up with against Popeyes during the live championship, and Popeyes beat them in the first two games with a Glay pickup. So it's kind of a grudge match between both of these teams. So I'm quite interested. I'm excited to be going into this match and then just seeing who can pull off their comp much better as compared to the other one.
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to be a close match. And with that, I believe both the teams should be ready now. And we'll be getting on to the Halcyon Fold any second. So in chat, make sure you guys are putting down which team you guys are cheering for and show us your hype, because it's going to be an amazing way to start off Split 2 as the teams now load into the fold. So, Lakshya, what's your say on this matchup?
Well, honestly, I'm expecting a lot of early invades coming up from Chingy. It's just how Chingy is playing, used to play or still plays that way. Chingy, especially with Ataka, with double weapon blade in the early game, you have enough damage to go up against Sky, and especially when you have Grace on your team as well, your early game is just so much stronger as compared to E8's early game. Problem with that is that, and one more thing we note about Chingy is that Chingy likes to play really early game, put out really good early game aggression. So there is one thing that we must consider. I mean, Chingy has been known for the Grumjaw pickup, for the Koshka pickup, and this is, I think, the first time we actually do see Chingy on this Taka, if I'm not wrong, if I remember correctly. So, I mean, Chingy is a really strong player overall. Really good addition to the side of Popeyes. A really solid jungler Chingy is, because he just knows his early game spikes, and you know he knows how to just be in the front lines, just being really aggressive with. Oh, Chingy is taken down really low, but Official High might be the first to fall, and Official High do fall, giving away the first blood to Chingy for the side of ASN. That is 300 gold, and of course a return kill coming out for Anime Save Me on that blood. Coming to this matchup, like you asked, what do I think, what do I personally think about it? Honestly, all Chingy have to do is just apply really good early game pressure, allow Aeon to farm up, and of course Tezza Boy is there on that Grace to ease, you know, the farming phase, the laning phase of Aeon on this Baron as well. If you do allow Baron to farm up and not putting a lot of pressure in lane, just to stun his farm, just to starve him up, you know, just to make sure he do not farm up for the late game, then you'll be pretty screwed when the late game strikes, especially when Baron, like I said earlier on, has got that Sorrow Blade, has got that Tension Bow. So, you know, honestly, for the side of Elite 8, they must really just come up to lane to gank that Baron, or just catch Baron in the later game just out of position. But we do see the amount of damage Chingy has in such early game as well. So, they are fighting over the Ancient Treant right now. Anime Save Me might be going in. Tezzaboy is taken down really low, but they are just going to be sad after all. Okay, so I may be solo casting for this game because game will be so I guess the general rule of thumb for both teams is just knowing where their engagements are, when their power spikes are, because Fox can really sustain against the Baron in the early game, because Baron just lacks the damage before Jump Jets overdrive and whatnot, and of course the CCs before Jump Jets are overdrive, Baron can't dodge them, can't block them out anyway. Han Jaeger is going deep for the basic attack. Chingy might be picking up another kill for himself, and he does with one basic attack. Official Hein is looking for Chingy. Ooh, Chingy dodged the forward barrage. Chingy is going in for Official Hein. Official Hein and Tessa Boy is there to support Official Hein, and Official Hein on that sky to go down. So, it's really looking good for the side of ASN in this early game, especially that Taka pickup. Taka now is just sitting on double weapon blade, one Storm Guard banner, probably going into that early aftershock, or no, just going into the Storm Crown. And of course, sitting on a light shield as well. I mean, Tessa Boy coming into that fight early on really just helped Chingy secure that fight, and of course that early game. So honestly, ASN is really looking strong right now, especially when they have no ways to punish Baron in that lane.
Hello, I'm back. I'm sorry. Hopefully you can hear me clear and fine now. I'm not gonna lie, I had some technical difficulties. Hopefully things are sorted here, and I'm sure you did a great job covering these first few kills, as we now see Sky getting dived on. There's going to be the fountain, but it's not going to be enough as Grace picks up that 4th kill for their team, and it's going to push Han Jaegers and Anime Save back off. But Aeon looking fairly low as well. He is going to dive in, going to get those double auto attacks down, but you can see the damage being put out by Han Jaegers here. Pretty good. Anime Save trying to go in with the Impale, and I'm surprised to already see how quickly these teams have leveled up. Chingy already hitting that level 6, and it's interesting right now. They've gone for the Storm Guard. They are going to dive onto the onto Vox here and pick up the kill. Anime Save Me might be next if he doesn't get out there, but it's like he's enough to survive all that. And I was just looking at Chingy's build so far, seeing the Storm Crown with double weapon blades rather than any CP items yet. But it's like Anime Save Me trying to get Aeon, but Tessa Boy trying to body block there to save him from the forward barrage. Is going to go down, but it did save Aeon's life, and probably worth it.
Yeah, and there is one thing about Taka I've been seeing, is that Taka might actually go for that Storm Crown into tension build, then afterwards Aftershock. And really good pressure, lane pressure coming out from E8. For all this while, we know that E8. Just look at the amount of damage. Anime Save Me soaked up.
Yeah, gonna have to use that Taki to heal up, but still fairly low. You can see a lot of damage going out in this early game so far. I mean, we're 6 minutes in already, but there's not much defense on both these teams if you look over. There's a reflex coming out of Official Hein, and then a bit of light armor on Han Jaegers there. And then on the side of ASN Esports, we're going to see just a bit of shield coming out. So they're really focusing on that Sky and the damage she can put out with Barrage, especially when she gets into a good position using that Surrey Strike.
Well, yeah, definitely. I must agree with you. I mean, Sky is really just a threat at the end of the day, because if you are going to be caught up in the forward barrage and you eat the entire barrage, it's going to spell a really bad day for you. So we do see Chingy getting a level 8, a really early level 8 infusion, probably going in for another fight. If not, then a turret at least.
Chingy does get caught out there. Push. There's going to be the tail coming up from Anime Save, but big damage going down. There's the Fountain Iron Cannon follows up. No follow-up with that though, however. Aeon was looking for the Sky, couldn't find it. Chingy going to dive in, gets the bleed damage onto Lance, manages to pick up the kill. Chingy's low, there's the Fountain. It's not going to be enough to save them as Grace goes in, but instead is going to have to back out of that one. Does manage to knock up the box and kind of confuses Elite 8 there, as they weren't able to decide which target to go. And they're just going to leave that one. You see Han Jaegers now low on energy, low health. They have to back out of that. But so far, it's ASM with the lead here with 6 kills to not much in terms of gold and separation. We've got 7k over to k of Elite 8, so fairly close there. No objectives taken yet. It's still a close game, but if anything, you'd have to give it to ASN, who had that Taka, who's able to do those turret dives and get that bleed damage. Even with a little bit of crystal power, it's still doing the work, and you see him now picking up that armor shot. And as you mentioned earlier, a lot of early infusions coming out as we see Hun Jaeger's picking up that weapon infusion. And such a lane-heavy focused game so far.
I mean, we do know that Elite 8 has been one of those teams that are really objective focused, especially the lane, and they just want to take out turrets ASAP. And that is how, just look at the amount of damage coming out on.
Yeah, Chingy gonna dive in there from above, don't catch out Aeon, but they're not able to follow up, or you might have spoken too soon. It's actually gonna be Vox going down and ASN turning it around with the fountain. Anime Save Me has used his fountain as well, but wasn't enough to save Hun Jaeger, as it's going to be ASN pushing on for the first turret, and most likely going to get, you can see the damage coming out from Aeon already with that tension bow and Sorrow Blade. They might even pick up the kill onto Lance, which they do. Official Hein taking massive damage. No defense against that Baron at the moment, and Taka finds the kill there. It's looking bad for Elite 8 as ASN pushing their way into this first match. Chingy just going to dive on in there, manages to pick up a kill. Kaku's for the stealth and the heal, gets out there. There's a second ace, and they move on to the next turret. A big push coming out of ASN just within those few minutes.
Well, yeah, definitely. I mean, I was talking about how objective focused the side of Elite 8 is as a team. But the problem is that their draft, like I said, like when we were going through draft earlier on, picking up that Sky's a really good hero if you can avoid all the CCs coming out from Grace. But Grace at this point in time is just such a strong hero. If they're going to go into a double ban and your second ban will be Lara, the opposing team would definitely pick up that Grace. And we do see the amount of damage and the amount of utility Grace can bring to the table with just one level on Divine Intervention, and that is because their team just lacked the sustain, lacked the heals. And then of course Grace on her part, although it's not, her heal isn't sustained heal, but it is at the end of the day, a big burst heal, a big massive heal for Aeon. And you know, when Aeon gets caught out of position on this Baron, it's always spelling trouble for him, and it's just not good for Baron. But with that burst heal, Baron can have a little more margin. His margin of error and mispositioning is just bigger. There's just more room for him to just go around, not afraid of being poked down, because Taser Boy with the Divine Intervention is constantly and always there. So we do see another infusion being picked up on Chingy as well. They might be looking for this gold mine.
Yeah, it looks like they could take it without contest. It has been flared out, however, by Elite 8. I don't think there's going to be any steal there. Anime Save Me going in with the Impale, but it's not going to be enough. You mentioned the team comp coming out of ASN here, how they were allowed to pick up this Grace, and it just works so well with what they've built for themselves. It's the dive comp that they have, and you can really tell, you talked about the utility on Grace, and that just opens up so many opportunities Taka to get in and also get out of those safely, because already, even when you've just got this tanky Taka build, he is such a pain when he dives in there, is able to put down the damage but just escape the turret with ease. You've just got that Grace there to save him now, and Baron on the backline to put that damage in, as you see right there. Massive damage, 498 coming out into the box, able to pick up the kill. Ion Cannon just going to add a bit more there, almost picking up official Hein as they go low. And there really isn't much Elite 8 can do at this stage, because once ASN started rolling, they haven't stopped, and it looks like it might continue that way for the most part. Understandably, Vox and Sky are late game heroes, so there might be hope there, but you can also imagine how strong this Baron is going to be late game if he's already pulling out this much damage.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you're going to talk about late game heroes, I must give it over to Aeon on that Baron, because Baron just scales so much better into the late game. But as for Vox, you are not going to build any more attack items after your tension bow, your poison shift, your breaking point. All you're going to build up next is just a lot of armor and a lot of shield, and that is all that you have in your kit. Whereas for Baron, he's not going to build any more defenses other than a probable slumbering husk. If not, then a light shield or sorry, an Aegis, and that's about it. I've even seen Baron picking up crucibles as well. So that is a thing as well for Baron. You have to match stat for stat. So if you are going to go for a Vox, then you must imagine, when Baron is being opened up, when Baron is still open, then of course you are going to hope to get, the other team is definitely going to pick up that Baron. And then you must have a reliable counter.
Yeah, and this is what I talked about. 1 second as Sky just gets taken down solo. Death from above trying to save their life. Try run away. Aeon is on the chase. Doesn't manage to pick up the kill on official Hein, but is going to instead turn to team fight. Help pick up that Vox who's bleeding out. Chingy gonna pick up the kill there, and you now see Anime Save Me doing what they can to try recall, but with Aeon on your back, I don't think you can get away from this one. And it looks like Taka stayed around, able to find official Hein there alongside with Tezza Boy, but it's taking a fair bit of damage from that forward barrage, but the Divine Intervention is come down and provide Taka with the health that just puts him back at full health at this point alongside his Kaku. So, ASN here, I talked about in the draft phase that there's something of this Baron Vox thing that it just made me think, even though I love Sky, that ASN had this one because they were able to pick up that Baron, but it's just how well it's working alongside the Grace and Taka comp.
Well, I mean, you must credit to Chingy as well. Chingy put on a very good early game pressure and allowed Baron to just scale and just get farmed for the late game, and that is why Baron is allowed and can put out so much damage, and that is because the side of Elite 8 as well, there is no answer to the Baron. I was about to say this before that fight actually broke out. I was hoping Elite 8, seeing that Baron, would go for that Ozo pickup instead of the Sky, and also because there is no reliable counter, because one reason, right, the only way to counter Ozo, or rather not the only way, one reliable way to check Ozo is just building Poison Shift. Problem with Baron is that Baron do not build Poison Shifts at all. So that is one thing that's going for you, yeah? So you can actually pick up that Ozo, but then that didn't happen, Sky was picked up, and thus, with that, you have Baron that counters a Vox. And then, of course, you have Taka that counters a Sky as well. So, at the end of the day, the side of ASN just drafted so much better. And then we do see Aeon 222 on this Baron not building a single ounce of defense at all. So the light shield for a minion's foot and then building into a Lucky Strike, hopefully into a Tyrant's Monaco, and that is 100% crit. That would be coming out from the rocket launcher of Baron. So, the amount of damage coming out from the side of ASN is just insane. And like you said, Taka can just be in the front line. Taka can just be a nuisance, not even caring. Ooh, Anime Save Me might be caught out right now.
Yeah, it looks like a fight is going to break out. And on the engage, and Anime Save Me trying to do what I can with the Impale, but not going to catch out anyone except Baron by Vox. As Vox now trying to turn this one around, and it's a point I was going to bring up that, we'll have to wait until this fight's over. However, Tanyega is going to be able to chase down that Grace, and it looks like Chingy going to be left alone. This could be Elite 8 turning this one around. There's the Impale, there's the stun into the wall. He has gone invisible, but he's not going to make it out of this one. Vox with a massive play there, able to turn it around for his team. You've got to give credit to Anime Save Me and Hein for being able to keep that Taka on lockdown to provide them that ace that they needed. They should be able to get a turret from this one, and the Kraken, which so desperately for that fight. It was an 8 gold lead side of ASN. But what I was just thinking then, your point on the defense on Aeon, I was thinking ASN have got this. They've got this as long as they're the team engaging.
Yes.
The problem is to engage, that just came out. Death from above that went down, but Impale out of Anime Save Me, forcing them to use, I believe, an early Crucible and maybe just a reflex out of Aeon by, I believe. And then it just left him open, and Vox somehow able to just build up all that damage, and especially when he's got this breaking point, he's just so much stronger in these drawn out fights. But we see ASN trying to go in for the fight once again. Fountain is up, isn't used, however, just yet for Hanyega, so Hanyega gets to stay on that back line. It's going to be used now, and in hopes of getting Vox alive for the rest of this fight. Meanwhile, no one's checking official Heinz except Taka just then. I spoke too soon. They're going to turn this one around on Elite 8, and I believe if they get the ace, go for the turrets, but instead they're going to have to turn around, focus their attention on this Kraken that is beating down on their base, and they should be able to save this anchor turret. But I think just in general in the last few minutes, that is exactly what Elite, maybe they could have done this Kraken push a bit better, but overall it was positive outcome where they were just...
I mean, what happened just now, and what made ASN lose that the team fight before this one is really just they did not force the engage. Instead, they retreated. Whereas for Baron, once you actually do retreat with your jump jets, what happened is that you become very vulnerable until next jump jets up. Whereas if you do jump jet in for an engage, you put out a lot of damage at once and then you force the enemy's retreat. So that was what that was going for the side of ASN, and I think they should continue that pressure instead of allowing the side of Elite 8 to, just pick up the pressure and of course engage on them. They might be looking for another engage right now, but infusions are running out across the boards. Vox just got his infusions as well. So when it comes down to the late game like this, we do see the side, we do see Aeon selling that lucky strike and picking up that Aegis at the end of the day, and I think it's a rather intelligent pickup because of one fight that they lose, and Aeon realizes that you cannot count on Grace's heal all the time, because Grace's generally would want to heal the front line first, and with that, even with an echo, it's going to take 1.5 seconds for the next burst of heal that would be down on Aeon. So honestly, I think it's a really good pickup for Aeon. But I must say though, I'll prefer Tension Bow into Sorrow Blade into Tension Bow and then Double Tyrant's Monocle instead of a Tornado Trigger that is picked up for Aeon. Only reason is because you're gonna jump jets in and you're gonna try to output
sustainable option rather than go shield. Could have gone for something like Serpent's Mask, that way you have the damage from Serpents as well as the lifesteal there. And then also, as you mentioned, that Tyrant's Monocle would be a good way to round that one out. But instead, it's going to go for this Aegis, which will give them the reflex block as well, which is not get caught out by that Impale. 8 and they're moving very close. They know each other's there. You can see the Roamers facing off right now. Anyega's going to go into the bush unchecked though as Taco jumps onto him, and there's going to be the renewal. Will it save him in time? He's going to find the safety of his Crystal Sentry. Great stun up by Chingy. Meanwhile, Sky is in the backline here and it's having a bit of trouble, and they managed to get out of that. Luckily, no kills given over to the side of ASN. That could have gone horribly for Elite 8 if Taka had committed a bit more there and if they were able to find the pick onto Sky. But, that's the way it broke down, and ASN now have the opportunity to go for this Kraken mostly uncontested. Anyegas is going to turn up, but they're going to jump onto him straight away, taking him down instantly. There's no fountain available to heal him. There's going to be the fountain on the side of the ASN going off, however.
Oh!
There's going to be the steal coming out from Anime Sage onto the Kraken, and that is massive. That just saved them the game. If they did not get this, they would have lost. However, they're now facing their next problem. Anime Sage has the choice to go in, which he does, try to land the Impale, but Aeon going to block that with the overdriven jump jets. And they need to stop them from just getting the Kraken and not getting nothing in return, because that's going to push the economy of ASN even further. You can see the heal going down onto Taka, and they're really trying to stop them, which Elite 8 in this case are doing very well, but Official Hind needs to be careful to not get caught up in this mess. If Official Hind goes down here, could mean disaster, and they have decided to turn on to them. Official Hind gets caught out. It might not be the ace, however. There's the turret going over to Kraken. It's not over yet. However, Hanyeg is in a dangerous next 35 seconds.
Well, definitely. I mean, if it was me, I would have just TP'd back really early on and grabbed the Kraken, because now their base is exposed. It is just down to the next team fight or so for both of these teams to kind of win. And a lot of times we do see, although ASN is in the lead of 7,000 in terms of gold and in fact kills as well, Problem with them is that they are now
7,000 kills ahead.
no 7,000 gold ahead, but problem with them now is that they are now in this state of limbo where they cannot advance, nor can they kind of retreat as well. Taka is slowly losing out his grip on the fights because of the amount of damage that he's not putting out, unless on Vox, and even then Vox has already picked up an Aegis now. So Taka's gonna have a hard time trying to burst down the Vox, and it's just him, Taka, just being a nuisance in the front lines, and hopefully Aeon can just take everyone out.
Well, they're looking for that Sky pick, which Taka's going to jump onto directly. And Fox and Baron facing it off there. He's going to get it. There's the Iron Cannon. The fountain's being used by both teams. There's going to be a reflex block. Heal goes down onto Baron. Baron wins out that fight. Meanwhile, Taka going low to the Crystal Sentry does get impaled, and they're doing what they can. Official Heinz over that wall, but needs to be careful because there can be jump jets or just Taka flying over there with Titan or X-Gretsu. Able to disengage from that fight, which I think in this situation is in favor of Elite 8. Of course, they had the numbers advantage on ASN, but they were very wary of the Sky. And we talked about before, the late game, the team of Elite 8 is going to have that power spike, but you've got to remember Aeon is also quite strong at this point. The only problem holding Aeon back, and we mentioned it before, was the defense they built up, which is a problem and not a problem. You can see still holding on to the tension bow as well, because it is a decent pickup to have that reflex block there to save yourself. However, it might be working out better, at least if they could have closed off the game earlier by just going full damage and that rush. But Elite 8 doing a very good job to stall it out until this point. Will Anime Save Me get another amazing Kraken steal? We'll have to see. He does war treads his team in. Chingy is going to be the target, stuck between the three of Elite 8, and is going to hold off this Kraken push for just a bit longer, but Kraken didn't get quite reset there. Is still attacking the teammates of ASN. There's going to be Death from above going down, followed by Iron Cannon doing massive damage. They can see all of Elite 8, and it's going to be Taka jumping on to Chingy. Gets the kill. They now need to look for the ace. That's all ASN need, and they can push on through. Even 2 kills would be immense here. If Chingy can pick up Official Hind, the game is over for Elite 8. What can they do? There's the Grace over the wall, manages to get the slow and confirm the kill onto Taka. You can see ASN maybe wanting to regroup here, even push down into the lane. It's 35 seconds on that box. But what can Anime Save Me do on his own to defend this base? He is going to go in. It would have been a beautiful Giffian wall if he just landed it up onto the base wall there. And the turret just getting mounted instantly. You can see the pure damage that ASN do have. It's just being countered so well so far by Elite 8. But that's all going to be over as ASN finally reaches. They're able to keep down. Box is up, but it's going to be played. ASN, they rarely had that game for the most part, but you could see how they were slipping as to turn her around on that heels, and that amazing Kraken amazing. But in the end, GG to ASN, the winners of that first match.
Yep, I mean, just going through, the game itself and the last fight, what they did right was that they dropped the Kraken immediately instead of just focusing down the Kraken, turned their backs on Elite 8 and just immediately took down the carries of Elite 8. And we see across the board is that Official Hind on this Sky did not even build defenses against a Baron. Not that it's going to be of any use, because we do see a Metal Jacket coming out on Handiega, and yet Handiega just gets bursted down anyway, so it's not of any use even if you do. But then the extra stain that you'll have in the middle of a fight, especially when you're up at 1v1 against Baron, would be better. You can hold it out with the Eve of Harvest till your team arrives to help you after they take down the Taka, who is just so slippery from the side of ASN as well. I mean, overall, I think the side of ASN just won via draft. I mean, just looking at the kills alone, there is like 20 kills in favor of ASN as compared to 6 kills on the side of Elite 8. And just before the game closed, I think we did see a 5,000 or was it a 7,000 gold lead in favor of ASN as well. And ASN played the early game really well. When it comes down to the later game, they kind of became rocky because Chingy just lacked the amount of damage that, she can output to just burst a single carry down. He no longer has got that potential. So it was really just down to Aeon's positioning and Aeon's damage in the late game. In the final fight, they managed to pull it off. Anime Save Me did a very good job as well. I mean, just looking at his KDA, you not think of anything of him. But Anime Save Me did very well to provide all the CCs, the Gideon walls, the root from Impale as well, just so his team can output the amount of damage and the amount of sustain that the team has. I mean, we did see in one fight that Anime Save Me successfully root, followed by a wait for it from Vox, forcing an early Crucible being burned on Tazzaboy on that Grace. And that fight went well for Elite 8 as well. So, I mean, good job to both sides, but of course, at the end of the day, Baron was led through. You lost in draft. There is a Taka going up against the Sky. There's a Baron going up against a Vox. So, ASN really just won in draft.
Yeah, and I think they really did their best in that sense. They did their best with the team comp they had. It was definitely down to that draft that ASN had the advantage there, and you could almost see the comeback, and things were a bit different, but in the end, ASN with the advantage, and they're going to take that first round. So with that, the draft for the second match is ready. So without further ado, let's go into the draft.
The draft begins.
Coming into this draft, what do you think? Because I was saying earlier on that Baron is generally a priority in Southeast Asia. So, but then Baron was allowed through in the first match between Elite 8 and ASN.
Well, I told you my predictions in the previous draft when we saw Kestrel being banned and we saw that Vox was picked up. I said, this leaves Baron open. And we're in that situation once again where Baron is open. They've gone for the Baptiste, how I should be saying it. And that's all and well, but it's definitely played into the favor of ASN once again. ASN now being on your blue side and Elite 8 on your red side. So I wouldn't be surprised if they go for that Baron. But if they do, what is it that Elite 8 have to do?
Well, of course, without a doubt, Elite 8 should go for that Idris, which was open in the previous game as well. But it wasn't picked up at all. Vox was favored over Idris, which I've got no idea why, because it's going to be a preemptive pick. If you are going to pick up an Idris, you're going to expect a Baron, especially when you're not going to pick up a Baron. Anyways, we do see coming into this draft, Baptiste, the Vox is being banned out, and of course, Lara being picked out for the side of ASN Esports. Lara being really strong. Even if you do pick up Grace just to counter Lara's heal, Lara has got so much early game burst heal, and it's a team-wide burst heal in the early game, and there is nothing Grace have on her, and especially when Grace going to go in with that benediction, and then there's bright bulwark. Lara kind of stops a lot of heroes on the foe, so I think it's a really good pickup for the side of ASN. So honestly, so we do see a glaive being picked up. Probably the side of Elite 8 is hoping or is predicting and Idris being picked up for the side of ASN Esports, and that's why the glaive being picked out for Official Hind or even Anime Save Me. I mean, glaive is in a really good place in the meta right now. Glaive counters a lot of other heroes that are meta, like that of Idris, even Baron, Vox, but then we cannot forget the fact that Lara is there to just stop all of your afterburns from coming in. I'm not surprised if the side of ASN Esports do ban out that Catherine just to not allow because Catherine works so well against Lara, although Catherine will be highly not likely to be banned out there. So we do see the mages being priority. We do see the Baptiste being banned out, the Samuel, and of course the Celeste at the end of the day. However, the side of Elite 8 can still go for their Scarf, who is a rather strong pickup, especially with a glaive that can peel for the Scarf. We do see a Baron being picked up, so hopefully the side of ASN Esports would pick up that Idris, which is still open. If not, then Ringo. Ringo does really well against a Baron if you can match him stat for stat. As a weapon Ringo, not a CP Ringo, so if you can match a Baron stat for stat as a Ringo, you're going to do very well. And of course, without any doubt at all, they are just going to jump on that Idris. They are going to shimmer strike for the Idris. Get it?
Yeah, and like I was looking here at how they're going to respond to Baron, and especially with my initial thinking was as long as they had some good CC to take care of him, although that becomes a slight problem once Baron does overdrive his jump jets and escape a lot of that CC. And that's the main reason you don't usually need that reflex or Aegis on Baron, and you can rely on your jump jets if you get it off that once in a team fight when it's needed, or once to escape. But I believe it looks like the side of ASN have run through their bonus time, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, but they are going to restart. I think they are facing
It's
some.
going to be restarted. There's going to be ban onto Samuel, followed up by Vox.
No, so there's a Batiste followed up by a Vox.
Batiste is what I meant. He looks like they both are dark and creepy guys. So, well, there's going to be the Lyra pick up a glaive ban on Samuel there.
Yeah, but then the problem with picking on Idris, and I'm kind of liking the draft coming out from the side of Elite 8. It's because they are predicting, and Glaive is just a preemptive pickup going up against an Idris. Glaive, a very valuable flex pick as well in the current meta. You can go utility, you can go roam, you can even go weapon. And with double weapon comms coming out in the meta, I'm not surprised if Glaive do go for the double weapon comm, but it's highly unlikely for the likes of SEA, Southeast Asia, just to counter that Idris. So I really like the Glaive pickup on the side of Elite 8, just predicting that Idris that's going to be picked up for the side of ASN Esports just to counter that Baron. So I hope we do see a Crystal Castro or even a Koshka coming out for the side of ASN, or if not, then an on-hit Grace would work very well as well.
So what you want from ASN is you want them to go a real heavy dive comp to counter the dive coming out from the side of Elite 8 with that Baron.
Mm-hmm.
Which, we saw that kind of turn around in a similar fashion when Vox was able to turn around the dive, where, and that is what you pointed out, a weakness of Baron. Once he dives in, he has to commit. If he turns around, he's kind of, dead.
Screwed, yeah.
So, yeah, I guess Ikoshka in this situation, or on-hit Grace, which would be amazing to see, could work out really well for them, but they're going to go with a Grumpjaw, which is another good hero for going in with those engages. You have the slow there, as well as Grumpjaw, if it's going to be, I imagine in this case, just because they have the Idris on the team, that is going to be the CP Grumpjaw as opposed to weapon power. But I know both can be more so weapon power, be very annoying in the early game and quite strong because he has that tankiness. I'm not sure as to how much effectiveness that has on pistol power. Do you have any insight on that?
Well, I mean, for double weapon comms, there has been a rise. We do see it coming out in a lot of other regions but Southeast Asia, because Tangent Bow and Bonesaw, they are in a very good place in the current meta. So if you do go for a double weapon comp, it is possible, and it's not even just possible, it is really very strong. So we do see an alpha being picked up, although for the side of ASN, although I said I wanted Koshka, just so because I have the Southeast Asia mentality, you want a weapon, you want a crystal, but I was hoping for an Ozo as well, because Ozo just does so well against Baron. But of course, we cannot forget the fact that Glaive is always there. And I think it would be anime safe beyond that Glaive to just peel for that Baron. And it will be very strong in the early game, especially when Glaive has got such good gank potential in the early game, when he can just come up to lane after burn-in, knock Idris into turret range. If not, then knock Idris just to set up for Alpha, if not then Baron for the later part of the game. But what I'm saying, the Grumpjaw might actually just go for the tension bow into double Tyrant's Monaco. If not, then if the Grumpjaw is feeling a little, I don't know, a little more adventurous per se, or innovative, could go for the on-hit Grumpjaw with the tension bow aftershock. But I don't think that is really a good build. I personally think heavy armory on Grumjaw will be so much better. Heavy artillery on Grumjaw is so much better with the tension bow into Diver Tyrant's Monaco. And of course, we cannot forget that the side of ASN Esports, they have this superior sustain as compared to the side of Elite 8. As long as ASN Esports can play well in this game, execute their early game, because they have a much better early game as compared to the side of Elite 8. And that is one thing that's going for them. Of course, we have the Alpha in the late game. Alpha has got this weird power spike. In the early game, if played well, she's kind of fine into a lot of heroes. But then in the mid game, she does especially well against a lot of heroes. And then comes the late game when everyone has got their reflex blocks up, when everyone has got enough damage that can burst Alpha down, and Alpha kind of just become a sitting doll, kind of like Annabelle, just being in a showcase. Yeah, so you know, it's just down to how well they can work through their power spikes throughout the game. From the early game when Glaive is really strong with an afterburn, into the mid game when Alpha is really good, and then mid game is when Baron picks up that Sorrow Blade and the Tension Bow, and that's when Baron has got the first initial power spike. But then, of course, the side of ASN, they've got different power spikes as well. Lyra is really good until she's level 8. Level 12, even level 12, Lyra has got increased range, really good sustain on her Imperial Sigil at level 8. And of course, Idris, who is so mobile, so difficult for Baron to catch out, even Alpha to catch out. And of course, you have the front liner. Chingy will definitely be on this Grumjaw, picking up double Weapon Blade and just going in for the jungle invades really, really early. So, you know, they have different power spikes as well, both of these teams. But then honestly, looking at how they executed their team comps in the previous game, I personally think that Elite 8 might have this game because of how uncontrolled the snowball is. How uncontrolled the snowball is earlier on in the first match for the side of ASN Esports. Okay, so I am back to solo casting it right now. So we are back into the foes. We are jumping into the foes. And like I requested, Duo said, ASN Esports is the blue side. And of course, Elite 8 Esports is on the red side. We are going to see a Roam Glaive. We are going to see a Captain Glaive. And of course, Teza Boy would be on that Lyra as well. And as expected, Chingy will be going for the double weapon blade, hopefully for really good, for very early engagement or invades as well. So honestly, just coming into this match, I personally think that the side of Elite 8 just has got a stronger early game, and in fact, they scale so much better into the late game as well. Oh, Teza Boy and Anime saved me. It is the fight of the captains right now, but Anime saved me. He's taken down to 3/4 health, and Teza Boy is going in for the early engage against Official High, and hopefully they can steal that back cams. Hopefully, I request a duo would be coming back soon. He's just sorting out some technical
difficulties, as always.
Welcome
just
back.
a bit of rough audio, but in terms of this match so far, doesn't look like so much of a rough start, but it could be for Official Hein in just a second as you jump in on there with the slow, and you just realize the power that this Grumjaw has early game, and with the Lyra there to support them as well with the Imperial Sigil is going to be just immense for the side of really pushing out their own jungle and playing dominance here. See Aeon also trying to join in on the fight as Tezzaboy is going to be the one getting caught out, goes in alone and not able to actually find the help of Aeon. Aeon's just going to keep farming, and that's going to be the first kill going over to the side of Elite 8. So now Aeon needs to be careful. Anime Save Me is in the bush. They had that up there. Now they're going to use it straight away. That's going to be the Porcupine Mortars coming down, but they're going to miss. Perhaps if they hit, it might be enough to get a second kill over onto Aeon. He's going to fight the safety of his turret and Tezzaboy, who has that Imperial Sigil ready and waiting. So yeah, looking into this, you did talk about the kind of wed stage that Alpha is going to be in at some point into the late game. But do you think they're going to have a tough time in this early game up against Grumjaw as well?
Well, I don't think so. I mean, we did see Chingy trying to go for the early game, but did not quite get anything out of it. And Chingy is just back to playing passive. We do see Alpha. Alpha has got really good gang potential with the Prime Directive as well. So honestly, the side of Elite 8 just looks so much stronger in the current set, in this current game. Of course, we do see some TP taunts coming up for both teams, just all for friendly measure. And even then, Grumjaw, when he goes in with his A, there is really no follow-up as well, because both Passive Boy and Aeon just lacks damage in the early game, especially when Aeon is just sitting on a Book of Eulogies and of course an armor just to go up against Han Jaeger just for the extra sustain. And Anime Save Me on this glaive is a different story, however. He's got the damage early game. He has got, you know, the gang potential in the early game. And of course, with the Alpha, after picking up that Aftershock, he's just so much stronger as compared to Chingy. Alpha can just stay and output so much burst damage onto Grumjaw as well. And so honestly, like I said earlier on, when just looking at the team comps alone and sync execution wise, I think Elite 8 has got this as compared to the side of ASN. Unless of course ASN can play to their strength at this point in time. Just wait for Aeon to unlock the divergent path, and then of course Chingy for the tension bow. Ooh, we do see Alpha coming up the lane, trying to gank lane. The lane is being pushed up by the side of Elite 8 as well.
Yeah, which is expected with having that Baron there, who's just such a good sieger. And Chingy, once they get this tension bow, I think will be a bit more of a threat. And, you know, Alpha needs to be careful about they haven't built any armor towards them. They've actually gone for the shield because we're seeing that CP address coming out, which is actually a good choice there to respect that and build the shield. If anyone's going to be in trouble, Baron will be if he ever gets in range of that Chakram, because if you get hit by the outgoing and returning Chakram, there's quite a lot of damage with CP once you build up that Shatterglass burst. But Aeon might also go for Frostburn to just be a bit more, have a bit more synergy with his team for the flows along with Lyra and Grumpjaw.
Nah, I think Aeon will be going for that Shatterglass as first item, and then maybe a Broken Myth into an alternating current. That is the more expensive build, but then that is a build that is going to give you the highest form of burst damage with your Chakram, like you said. And we do see the Divergent Path, Chingy unlocked, and of course picking up that Shatterglass.
And looking for a fight. There's the Chakram going out, and it's going to be Chingy to actually use Stopped onto Glaive. And that just gets him out of the way with the Afterburn, but they're going to get turned around on it. Even using the Fountain is not going to be enough. Aeon might go down here. Officialheim does have the passive to get out, but doesn't have the ultimate to go in with the damage. Anime Save Me just staying around for this Afterburn. Another 5 seconds, but they really want to get something else out of that. You can see Aeon able to heal up thanks to the Imperial Surge. Wow. But overall, by losing a kill over to the side of Elite 8 on a team fight that they engaged, and I think it just came down to Chingy targeting with that stuff. You do want to get the Glaive out there so you can engage clean, but it just got turned around as soon as Glaive was out of stuff and able to turn around with the Afterburn that had been used.
Well, yeah, definitely. But there is one thing. Like I said, 6 minutes in, Alpha has picked up that Aftershock, and we do see the amount of damage coming out from Alpha as compared to Chingy. There is almost none coming out from Chingy, although Chingy has got attention, but Chingy may be looking to go in, but they are just going to back off. I mean, Anime Save Me at the end of the day is still a threat. Ooh, Anime Save Me is taken down to 3/4 health, but then I don't think a fight would be happening. Oh, I take that back.
Yeah, as we now see the stuff going on to Glaive, and Han Jaeger's going so low there, they can find a single kill. Can't they? No, they're not able to, as ASN denied the kills, and there's going to be the minion buff candies. The minion buff candies?
Minion candy? The buff.
Minion.
They
defend this turret here, and they're able to save it off the side of ASN, but ASN instead going to turn their attention towards that Goldmine, picking up 200. It's not as good as the turret, but you know, I'm surprised that ASN weren't able to find a single there. I lucky for the side of Elite, able to back out of that one without any casualties. Came fairly close, and that fight looked a lot more in ASN's favor. So you can see the crystal power starting to ramp up on Aeon. They're giving a bit of farm to him, trying to get this hyper carry going, because I guess in terms of Grumpjaw needing the itemization, it really is once you have that tension bow, then you just need some defense, whereas they want Aeon to get ahead with that damage, try match out the Baron, who's on the back line right now, and leaving it up to the rest of his tank it up. Anime Save Me gonna go in with the Afterburn. It's gonna get a few hits off from the turret, but Aeon with the amazing Shroud Step able to get onto target and out of there for a second of invulnerability. Now just going to step back from this one. You can see Boy now low on energy, but still wanting to fight. I think they feel they have the advantage, as you see the massive damage coming out from Aeon, and this is what I talked about with the Chakram. If you're caught at the very end of it and you take the outgoing and returning Chakram damage on, get wrecked. And that's why I love playing CP.
Yeah, I mean, CP Idris, his kid, it counts a lot and relies so much on that Chakram, especially the incoming and outgoing effects of Chakram as well. We do see, though, Aeon will be settling for that alternating current as second damage item instead of the broken myth, which I personally prefer, although it is a lot more expensive, and of course you don't have the attack speed, but honestly, Idris' starter steps, or rather his attack animation, is just so smooth. I don't think it's really required for you to have a tier 3 speed item at this point in time. Ooh, they are going in.
Looks like the side of ASN is going to go in with that Arcane Passage. Alpha's there for the response, and there's going to be the Afterburn onto Ching. Try to get him out there alive. It's Boy there with a renewal and the Imperial Sigil, but Official Hein going to follow up with that. Does manage to land the damage with that ultimate, but not able to find the kill onto Chingy. Meanwhile, they left Aeon alone with that Baron, and Aeon so strong at this point. You can see the damage coming out, especially with that said alternating current going to help out just with those basic attacks. It's not as good as having the broken myth second, which verbal, but in that case you already have the Blazing Salvo and is it up anyway. Them putting the damage down onto the start. They might be able to pick up Chingy here, however they don't die for it, because you know it'd probably be a kill Aeon unchecked. And the thing about this crystal power Idris is it's easily countered by Aegis, a bit of shield, at least in the early game, but because you're playing Baron and Baron has that mentality to not go defense, it's a very easy target, and that's why I think is a good pickup for the side of ASN to have gone that Idris.
And there is,
you know, knowing that the Baron was going to be.
Yeah, and there is one thing that's going for ASN as well, and that is Han Diego. Basically, going up against a Baron, you would try to the bestest of your abilities to force Baron to pick up really early game Crucible or even Reflex Block, and that is that's going on with Baron right now.
Chingy going in with the stuff, managed stuff blade once again, so it seems to be the target of choice at the moment. Anime Save Me just going to push Aeon away for a second. It's not going to do too much. As you see Official Hein being the first one to go low, it looks like Aeon will have the damage to burn them down, but will Baron jump onto them in response? They don't commit to it completely. There's the renewal coming up from the side of ASN, just barely saving them, and Elite 8 now going to be pushing in for their second attack, making their way onto this turret. There's the renewal. A lot of damage coming out from the side of Elite 8, but ASN, especially Aeon there with that nice Shroud Step to get out of that one and go invulnerable for a second. Will Chingy be able to clean up the kills? He has 5 seconds until Alpha's up. If he can get this, it will be an ace and provide them a good way to move on to this turret. They're not able to. Save Me gets out there with one hit, so does Chingy effectively. See these teams really being quite even this match, even though in objective wise ASN have gone for it all. They've just gone more out of their kills, whereas Elite 8 do have the damage to respond to it. It's just gonna depend on what they're able to once they get that team fight that they're looking for.
Yeah, personally I think Official Hein on this alpha should just go for more damage instead of prioritizing that Atlas Pauldron first. And as for Han Diego, just watch your positioning so you do not have to build up that early Reflex Block as well. Because honestly, if you're going to pick up a Reflex Block this early into game, I mean, we are seeing the Reflex Block coming out in the 10th minute, at the 10th minute. So that is a little too early for a Baron to be picking up defenses. I mean, if you are going to go for a 1v1 against Aeon, I don't think that is possible at all, because just for the fact that he's an Idris, and on paper Idris is just so much stronger as compared to a Baron, a weapon, or crystal. They are going to go for the gold mine right now, and it will not be stolen. That was so anticlimactic.
It was close, however. And Elite 8 really trying to do whatever they can at this point to get objectives in return. You can see the goal difference. It's very close. 26k on the side of Elite 8, 28.1 on the side of ASN. They want that turret badly, but it's going to be Tezaboy going in there with the Arcane Passage, putting down the Bright Bulwark to stop the escape for just a second. Chingy going to go in with the stuff, swallows up Official Hind, and they're going to put them in the back line for Aeon to deal with. And Official Hind getting so low, they want to force out that passive from the side of Elite 8, but they're going to go for the Baron instead, who stayed around just too long. Didn't have the jump jets up as Chingy was able to get the kill. And Aeon now going to be able to take that turret. And that's where I predicted that. I said Aeon's name even though it wasn't technically him. I guess he had the most damage in his squad.
Well, I mean, he has got the highest burst and highest basic attack damage as well because of his divergent path. And just looking at so much heavy crystal built on Aeon, I'm not surprised he is the highest damaging hero at this point in time. Of course, not before when Chingy built up his second Tyrant's Monaco at least. For the side of Aeon, I think he should prioritize a reflex proc at this time, probably sell that light armor, hopefully goes for an Eve of Harvest or even a Frostburn, just to synergize better with his team's kit, like you said. That is what I want to see, because honestly, Aeon is playing well so far. His positioning wise, whenever he's caught out, he will Shimmer Strike, he will disallow, he will disengage.
I've been calling it Shroud Step, my bad. I always get the two mixed up.
So he has been positioning well, so I think he can afford a little more damage on his kit, like that of Frostburn, like you said, just to synergize better, and then he is probably going to go for that Frostburn.
Well, you see him picking up some armor as well, and I think in this case he's relying on Tezaboy to have that Crucible there. There's vision on this one by the side of Elite 8, so they might go for the seal. You see Anime Save Me is ready, but he's going to go and gets caught out as well, because that... my bad. That
Ion Cannon?
Right now. No, that Afterburn not being up quite well, which is interesting. Usually you'd like to see a bit more utility being used for when you're going Roam Glaive. That really is the aspect having that Afterburn, because it's such a strong tool. He is going to use the Atlas onto Idris, however, but I think that is maybe the wrong target. Chingy might have gone AFK there. Is looking like they're lagging out, however, on my screen. It's going to be behind, trying to follow up onto that Idris. Chingy taking a lot of damage, but is going to manage to kill Anime Save Me so low, but then just hunt back and it stopped them from the ace. Both teams going very low there. And you can see what I talked about earlier about Elite 8 does have the damage. They just need to find the right team fight. However, ASN, they played it before with the Baron, a dive comp. They're doing it again, just a different formula by having Grumpjaw, who's that tank up the damage alongside with the Lyra, which Lyra, you know just how well she works with these dive comps. And then, of course, the Idris, who's able to put out this massive damage and just has done such a great job with that Shimmer Strike. Get targets in pulled out, and I think that's why it's working out for Aeon, and Aeon doesn't have that reflex block.
Oh, I think Chingy might be experiencing some lag issues.
Okay, so Chingy was lagging a bit, and we have gone into a pause. So just to explain to all you lovely viewers at home what our pauses is 2 minutes per team. So that's a total of 4 minutes per, and that's for each match we have. So this is due to what we believe is a technical with the side of ASN, and it's just used whenever players may disconnect or have connectivity issues. We want this to be a fair and even match. So hopefully by the time we come back, they've got it all sorted out. And it would be a shame to see was such a close match right now. It would be argued that ASN do have the advantage, and that would mean if Chingy were to go AFK, it would just be quite it'd be pretty bad for them, especially knowing that they won that first match. And if they can pull through with this one, then they don't have to go into that third matchup. They
Well,
can
yeah,
move on.
and honestly, I think at a point in time, had Chingy not AFK, the side of ASN Esports might actually have got that game. But then, lag aside, just going quickly through the builds, Chingy is going for the tension bow and double Tyrant's Monocle, like we said earlier on. And of course, Aeon 222 is going for the Eve of Harvest, just for that little extra sustain that he can have against Han Jaeger on this Baron. Going through Han Jaeger's build, there is one thing about Han Jaeger is that he is going for that heavy steel. And I think we've seen him play Baron before, and he does go for the double Sorrow Blade.
Yep, and we see Chingy back now, which is all good and gold. And let's see what they can pull out here as Alpha picking up that Broken Myth now is a bit behind on the offensive items, as you mentioned before. You look over to someone like Chingy, who's got the double Tyrant and the Tension Bow, just able to put out so much right now, as opposed to the Aftershock and Broken Myth. Official Hind definitely going for that more tanky defensive Alpha build. In a sense, can work out in the team comp they have, because Baron needs to be that one with the attacking kind of capabilities. But because he was forced to pick up that reflex so early, I think that has also held him back a bit.
Yeah.
We'll just have to see how this next team fight plays out. Both teams kind of ready and waiting, and Kraken is up once again. So, or no team has done a Kraken push yet. I am wrong. So Kraken is up and waiting.
Yep, Kraken is up and waiting, and we do see Han Jaeger picking up the heavy steel. And there is one thing about Han Jaeger going for this double Sorrow Blade build. The problem is that you lack the amount of burst. Granted, you have the raw damage, but then that is easily countered as well. So I would prefer the double Tyrant's Monocle instead of, say, for the extra crit, as compared to, say, an heavy steel going. Oh, they are going in.
Well, hold that for just a second, as ASN are going to make their engage onto that Alpha as their primary target. And Anime Safety, meanwhile, getting low. No one's able to check Aeon right now. There's going to be official Hind with the Termination Protocol, and it's not going to catch out anyone as they follow up onto Anime Safety, at least is trying their best to. And I think in this situation, they might be better to try chase down that Baron, but they're just going to turn their attention to Kraken. I believe they feel that if anyone on an Elite 8 tries to challenge them, they should be able to pick up a kill. You can see ASN position themselves to the top of that push, game ready for a possible steal, and they managed to deny it and pick up a kill onto.
I think ASN...
so much in ASN's favor right now.
Yeah, but I think ASN's mentality going into the Kraken, immediately turning onto the Kraken, was because they kind of thought that Anime saved me on this glaive. Tried to steal gold mine 3 times, failed 3 times, so why not? Probably would not take Kraken as well. So there you go. That's probably the mentality. They just, or maybe I must have to agree with you. They are not afraid of the steal coming in. They are not afraid if the enemies are posturing there.
In this situation, even sending Han Jaegers in could have been alright, because you would have had the damage there. But look at that, the damage coming out from the Echo as well, being provided for that just lockdown onto Baron. And it's going to be Anime Savvy trying to do what he can with that afterburn. Official Hind going in with the ult, trying to chase down anyone, anything. But Aeon just dancing around, work on this crit. Get it there once again. Predictable. But GG, well played to ASN and Elite 8. ASN showing that they're a very versatile team and able to work with any kind of team comp there. They gave the Baron over and they still won. It shows that they were able to pick up and change.
Okay, so...
It worked out so well for them. And you know, we were predicting whether it's going to be that double weapon. But I'm so glad they picked up the CP, because it just worked so well into Baron, who didn't have the beat there. And, you know, they had the better engage.
Definitely, I must agree with you. But there is one thing that I must question the entirety of Elite 8 for. What is the thought